Stress and parenting, parenting and stress. Oh, do the two go hand in hand? Must they go hand in hand? I often feel that, even I can be having a great day and flying pretty high, feeling really productive and accomplished, like things are going so well. And then I kind of get derailed by a tantrum or a power struggle or a bedtime routine gone sideways. And then it has me feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, stressed out, guilty. The list goes on and on. And I often wonder, does it have to be this way? Like, is this something that it just goes hand in hand with parenting, or can we make it easier? And I myself, I'm a mom of three boys. I have been a parent for the last 7.5 years, but I am not an expert in parenting by any means. And people often come to me with questions or asking for advice about parenting. And I can only offer the things that have happened and the things that have worked for me. But today's guest is an absolute expert in parenting and positive solutions when it comes to how the household operates with the children being happy and healthy and feeling great. And I think that leads to just the family unit being happier and better off. So we're dealing with stress-free parenting in this episode. We're talking about the secrets to stress-free parenting. And I'm so honored, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to Tia Slightham, who is a parenting coach. She's a teacher, a business owner, a best-selling author, and of course, she is a mom herself. She is the founder of Tia Slightham Parenting Solutions and the Parenting with Purpose method. She works with parents every day to teach them positive ways to decrease the daily struggles that we all encounter as parents. Tia has a master's degree in early childhood education, and she's also certified in positive discipline. She's worked with kids and families for over 17 years. I'm really happy to be speaking with Tia today because she really works with parents to tailor specific plans to solve parenting struggles, to help transform our parenting styles, to really help our children thrive. And I believe that that's really what we're all looking for, is to add that extra layer of ease and flow and balance to our lives, not only with our careers, not only with how we are managing our personal lives and prioritizing ourselves, but we want to be present parents. We want to be enjoying the time that we have with our kids. And we want to go to bed at night feeling like we have made a difference in their lives in a positive way. And so I can't wait to share this interview with Tia, with the hope that you can take some really important nuggets to implement them right away, some simple solutions, and perhaps some avenues that you can pursue to better help how you choose to parent every day. So with that said, let's get started. Welcome to the Juggle is Real podcast. I'm your host, Andryanna. I'm a career-driven mom of three boys who went from burnout to finding balance, and I am on a mission to help other parents enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. What do you think? Are you with me? Let's get started. Welcome, Tia, to The Juggle is Real. We are so happy to have you here. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here to talk about this heated topic about parenting. So a little bit about me. Gosh, I could probably talk for days. I am a parenting coach, but first and foremost, I'm a mom. I have two boys. Hudson is 13. Beckett is almost 11 on June 9th, which is just breaking my heart because I see what happens from 11 to 13. And oh my gosh, it is such a big jump. And they go from like little boy to little man. And I don't know that I'm ready for my baby to do that. And outside of that, I live in Toronto, but I'm originally from the States. So my family's all in Portland, Oregon. I've been in Canada for over 15 years. Been working with kids and families for over 18. Started my journey as a kindergarten teacher in the States. Became a parenting coach and a mom myself. And I love what I get to do, helping parents really transform their parenting from one where they're feeling full of guilt and regret and using punishments to a place where they actually feel confident in the way that they're raising their kids because it feels positive and it feels really good and aligns with who they are.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's amazing to see how this journey has taken you to where you are now. And of course, you're a fur mom too. You got a little puppy, you told me,
Yeah.
just turning 1 year old. And for myself, I have three boys. Their ages 7, 5, and 15 months. And for me, seeing, having Zachary be so, a little bit younger, but just knowing how quickly it goes. My 7-year-old sometimes already has like little teen moments. And so I'm just, looking at my little guy and thinking, oh my goodness, like I know I'm going to blink and it's going to be,
It's,
it's going to go by so quickly.
it's
And
exactly
those
it.
are the moments.
Blink. It's
Yeah,
a
those are the
blink.
moments. Yes.
I mean, I swear my friend this morning said to me, Jack's 20. And I'm like, how did that happen? And she said, I blinked. And I said, the blinks are actually making me sad. I don't actually want to blink because I remember when they were little, you're so busy and they need you for everything from baths and getting dressed and they don't put their clothes away and they just can't do all those things yet. And so you feel so pressured to always have to wear so many hats. But then all of a sudden they reach this new level where they're so independent. And then when you blink, you miss it. It's the weirdest thing. Like it's just, oh, I know.
I think, well, and I'm so glad that you're here to chat with us because we think about it. And it's normally when our kids are asleep or we do get a net away or, we're scrolling through our phone and at past photos and we're like, oh, those moments. And it was so wonderful. But some of it can kind of seem like a blur and some of it can get sort of sidelined because there's a lot of stress. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of pressure that goes with parenting. And for many of us, we're like, not sure if we're doing it right, or we look to the external environment and we think that others are doing it better, or perhaps it's not going how we imagined it would be. And so, this can weigh on us. But we want to be enjoying those moments. We want to be that present parent and we want to, really fully, truly enjoy the experience of our little ones as they grow and, as we blink, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about how we can take the stress out of parenting. And so this topic, I think we could talk about for days on end. But the title of this episode is The Secrets to Stress-Free Parenting. And that's really where you help others, you help your clients, and you've fully changed the lives of families, which is just so heartwarming to see. But I want to talk a little bit about why we think parenting has to be stressful. I think a lot of what we see around us, it sort of perpetuates that it is this big ball of stress. So we see the common mom stereotype of, this poor woman who's at her wit's end. She's got her hair up in a greasy bun. She's, drinking coffee to no end, obviously exhausted and tired constantly. And don't get me wrong, this exists in many facets. And I speak from experience. I've had moments within this stereotype. But why is this a stereotype? I sometimes wonder, like, is it nature? Is it the circumstances? Or do we actually just think that it has to be stressful? Is it, nature versus, so
Exactly.
I don't know. So yeah. So are we assuming it, or I don't know, how did we get to this place?
Yeah.
I would love to know your thoughts.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge is that as parents, we think we should know what we're doing. We think we should have it figured out. We think we should be able to raise our kids. And it's not that you can't, you 100% can. Everybody's capable of it, but it's not intuitive. And we think that it is. We think that parenting is straight from intuition, but in fact, it's a learned skill. And in order to really parent without stress, we have to have skills. I mean, if you think about going in and performing heart surgery, it is going to be the most stressful situation. It's stressful, I'm sure, regardless, but so stressful if you've never gone to school for it and you don't have the skills, you would be literally losing your mind. Parenting's the exact same way. But instead, we have our kids, and society makes us feel like we should be able to have kids who listen and who don't tantrum in the grocery store and who are, we really have a grasp on them. And that's all possible in itself as well. But without the skills, it's next to impossible. And so we're creating this kind of whirlwind for ourselves to live in this environment with these little people, trying to get them to become independent and responsible and respectful and kind without the skills. And so what we need to do is stop and say, I may have been raised in a positive or negative way. I may want to repeat some of that and not repeat some of that, but I feel like it's stressful. And if I feel like it's stressful, there's an easier way. And that's where I say, reach out to somebody who feels good to you, because there is so much noise out there, so many books, so many podcasts, so many courses, so many opinions that can be stressful. So find one avenue that feels good to you, follow a path and a proven system, and solve your problems. I'm telling you, it can be done, and it'll be way easier than continuing to try and use that intuition and feeling like you're bogged down.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Really, it could be that we're just not properly equipped. And we do hear so much. It's coming from everywhere. Sometimes we have well-intending, parents or in-laws or friends, well, I did it this way and my kid turned out just fine. Or,
Exactly.
the list goes on and on. Or we see so many different things through social media, through society, everything around us is really telling us what we should and shouldn't be doing. But then, where do we finally decide to turn to? So I appreciate that there are avenues that take the approach of ease over stress and allowing it to be fun. And once we have these tools, then we can better utilize them in creating the family balance in life that we're searching for. Because I think
Yeah.
that's really, at the end of the day, that's all we want, right? We want
Yeah.
everyone to be happy in the house. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect 100% of the time, but here and there, we've got little blips, but life is, a little bit easier. And that's not one of those stressors that we have to worry about on a daily basis.
Yeah, you don't want to go to bed every night feeling badly about who you are or the way that your day went with your kids. Like, we're going to have moments, sure, but if it's on repeat and your days are, crossing your fingers and toes, hoping that it's going to be okay, hoping there's not going to be a massive outburst, hoping you're not going to have to yell, then you yell, then you go to bed, then you cry, you're full of guilt. You don't want to be that parent. You say it's going to be different, but you wake up without the skills, and so it's still not different. And then you beat yourself up more and more and more. And that's where we want to get out of that cycle. And what I always like to say to parents is that if we're looking at a parenting piece of pie, about 90% of it is proactive. So instead, what we typically do is we wait for fires to happen, and then we try and put them out. Your kids don't want to stay in bed, and then you're trying to force them to stay in bed. Your kids don't want to eat, you try and force them to eat. They need to eat or do their homework or turn off their device. But what we want to do instead is prepare in advance for success. And that's where that skill set really comes in, getting to a place where you're proactively prepared to know that you're going to have a really good day. And then if something comes up, you have that full toolbox or a set of skills to know what to use when to manage a situation and move on.
Oh, I think that's so great. And so much of what we talk about is like, how can we best respond instead of react?
Yes.
And when you're already at that place where you're completely stressed and exhausted and overwhelmed, it's a lot easier to, start yelling or snap or, do those quick reactions versus when we have the tools, when we can perhaps foresee what this circumstance is going to be or how it may unfold, then we can best utilize that to respond in the best way, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd like to focus a little bit on balancing our personal, professional, and parenting time, because I think that's where a lot of us, as busy working moms, we're constantly juggling. And the title of the podcast is "The Juggle is Real." The people who are listening are master jugglers when it comes to just everything that they're taking on every day. But one pain point that I see continually and that I butt up against myself personally is the notion of creating space. So how we can better manage our time, especially the time we have with our children. Because if we are, pulled in many directions, if we're working full time, if we're managing a household, we want to ensure that the time that we do have with our kids is well spent, that we're being present. And something that I thought was really great, and one of the ways you show your clients how to save time and save energy and give parents more time has to do with filling buckets for
Mhm.
our children. So can you speak to this concept about the power and attention buckets that's going to help us in creating space?
Yeah, so this kind of falls right into that proactive piece of that parenting. So we want to parent smarter, not harder. And that's going to actually save you time and energy and frustration. And so when we work with our kids, we want to really understand why behaviors are happening, what's causing it to happen, what's the real root, because there is a reason and a goal and a purpose behind every behavior you see. And it's not to annoy you, it's not to frustrate you, it's not to make you crazy. It's really your child's way of saying, help me meet my needs. So you can even imagine them wearing like this big giant sign around their neck next time they're doing something you don't want them to do, and envision that it says, help me meet my needs. It's going to change your perspective. It's going to help you feel less frustrated, and it's going to put you more in the detective seat to say, what does my child really need in this moment? With that, in those little segments of needs that they have are these power and attention buckets. These are what we call our children's emotional needs. Everybody has them, and I'd like you to envision that they're like two giant red buckets. One is power, one is attention. They float above your child's head every single day. If they are not full, your child is going to act out to try and fill them and meet that portion of their needs, and that's where you're going to see more of those unwanted behaviors. That's taking away your time and your space and your energy. So when we look at our child's power bucket, it's their need to feel capable, accomplished, self-confidence, really feeling proud about who they are and where they fit in your family and the world. When we look at attention, it's really the idea of them needing attention, but from their perspective. So often as parents, we're planning birthday parties, driving them places, organizing, cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, trying to play with them, trying to read with them. Oh my gosh, there is not anything else we could do in our time because all we do is suffer our kids from our perspective. But from our kids' perspective, they're like, no, not really. That's your job description. You chose to have me. That's the mommy and daddy duty. Where is my time? Where's my attention? And driving your kids and planning birthday parties and doing all those things are attention, but it's not the attention they need to fill their bucket. And so I really work with parents to incorporate golden time into their daily parenting. It takes just 10 minutes. Definitely, I'll share the link with you and you can share it with your listeners. It's a free guide. It takes 10 minutes out of your day, but it's going to have 5 super important ingredients that you're going to incorporate in that 10-minute time with each child to ensure that the attention is from their perspective, to ensure that we're giving them power so you can work to fill up their buckets, which is going to help them cooperate more, listen more, act out less, and that's going to really help you bond with your kids.
Ooh, I love this distinction because I think, yeah, we're so worried about accomplishing everything that has to happen in a day. We have our to-do list. We see the mess that's around us. We see the laundry baskets full. We see that deadline that's looming, and we're at a constant, torn as to what we should be doing first. And so when then we see our children, and perhaps they're fighting, or perhaps they're whining, or perhaps they're not behaving, and we think, oh, now is one more thing that we have to deal with, right? And I say this because I feel this sometimes, and I'm not saying this to shame anyone or to make anyone feel guilty, because these are things that I think we all go through. But when we really look to it and we bring it down to this, psychological level of our very basic needs, the need to feel love and supported, like that is a basic need for a child. And so when you can really break it down with something like the attention that they require and the power that they require, because it's so often like you have to do this, you have to brush your teeth, you have to get dressed, you got to take your bath, and we don't see where they want to show that they're independent little beings as well. So this is something that I have been learning a lot about, especially as my children are starting to get older. Do you have any examples? And I'm definitely, as soon as we get off, I'm going to be downloading that golden hour worksheet. But any examples that you can provide for how we can go about doing this?
Yeah, so what we want to think about is setting it up for ease. And so I offer the idea around sitting down with your kids and letting them know how excited you are to have this new opportunity to spend time just with them. I was a kindergarten teacher. I can be kind of theatrical, but you've got to get excited, because when you're excited, they're excited. And you're going to let them know that you've been so busy with all of these things you have to do and that you want to spend more time with them. That's going to fill their bucket up just in that statement. And I want you to sit down and really go through creating golden time lists with your kids. So for younger kids, it might be pictures of like blocks and Legos and dolls, or drawing or crayons or whatever they like to do. And you're going to help them create like a little visual where you can point to things that they can choose they want to do. For older kids, they might want to write their own list and phonetically try and spell it out and put pictures next to it. Having the lists is going to allow you during your busy schedule to say, okay, we're going to do golden time now. We've got our 10 minutes. Let's pick something quickly. It's going to help you save that time. And it's also going to give your kids a real sense of power, because it's their list, it's their choice, they get to choose, and then you're going to run with it. Another simple tip to help would be to use a timer. I use the time tracker mini timer. I know your listeners can't see it, but I will share a link if they are interested, because our kids are not going to want to stop golden time. 10 minutes is not going to be enough in their books, and that's okay. We're teaching our boundaries to be really concrete, clear, and consistent, and a timer can help you do that. And I really recommend setting the timer in the beginning for that 10 minutes or the 15 minutes or whatever you have to offer, so that they're aware when it's time to transition out of it, so they don't get into a power struggle with you. And you can let them know that you're really sorry that it's over. It was so much fun, and you can't wait to do it either that evening or the next time when it's available for you on your schedule.
Beautiful. And just to clarify, the golden time is a one-on-one time. So if you have more than one child, it's sort of like, Susie goes first, Tommy's next, or do you do it back to back, or do you, how would you bet? I guess it depends on the person's schedule as well, but
Yeah,
what do you recommend?
it really does depend on your schedule, and there's no right or wrong. It doesn't need to be, parent one and then parent two and then parent one and then parent two. Each child just needs golden time twice daily. So your bedtime routine is your golden time. You read stories, you tuck your kids in, you kiss them goodnight. All you need to do is give it that fifth label, fifth ingredient, which is to label it and give it a name. So we call it golden time. Hudson, my eldest, named it golden time when he was 4, and we have called it that ever since. You can use my name, you can choose your own name. It doesn't matter as long as it has a name, because now when you're going to ease your kids upstairs for bedtime, you can say, as soon as you're ready with your bedtime routines, then we can start your golden time. The faster you go, the more golden time we have. Well, then they're like, holy moly, this is all about me. And all it was the books and the story and the tuck in. But in their perspective, they hear that name and they're like, oh, it's my time. This is for me. And so that name is so important. During the day, your golden time is sometimes trickier because you're trying to fit it into a new place. So what I recommend with multiple kids is having an accountability calendar. Inside my program, the Parenting with Purpose method, we offer an accountability calendar where each week you'll look at your schedule. If it's just you or you and your partner, who's going to be available at bedtime, who's going to be available during the day, and really putting mommy and mommy, or daddy and daddy, or mommy and mommy, whoever it's going to be, on there, so your kids can see, wow, I'm getting all of this golden time this week. But also you guys are held accountable to know when you're going to do it. I say you do whatever you need to do to get golden time in. If you have multiple kids, then I don't recommend TV being a babysitter all day long. But if you need to have a little show going so the 2 kids watch and you do golden time and then you rotate them out, fine. Kids are napping and older kids are awake. Get one busy, rotate them in and out. You will find a way. What I will say is, by finding a way to get golden time in twice daily, consistent with consistency, you will see changes right away in your child's behavior, and they will start to hold you accountable for it and remind you that they need their golden time.
And I think we want to be held accountable to it, right? Because we want this to work. We want to have that time. Perhaps we're worried, that we have other things on the go, but I think 10 minutes is doable, multiplied by however many children you have, broken up throughout the course of a day. I think that's more than doable.
Yeah.
And, for 2-parented households, when you can sort of divide and conquer, I think that's really
Yeah.
special as well. Something that you mentioned, with having the charts and knowing who's going to be doing what, I feel like this could also be really helpful when it comes to relationships, because sometimes struggles can occur with, it's your time to do bedtime, or no, I, woke up in the middle of the night with the baby last night. It's your turn. So I feel like it's almost a proactive approach to taking out some of the stressors that you might have with your spouse. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I need
You're
to
not alone.
better plan this out too.
Yeah.
But I think that it could help with everyone in the family, not just the kids, right?
100%. And you're the biggest role model for your kids. So setting up charts and routines that you're actually accessing, that they're also accessing, not only brings you guys together as a team, but it also shows that you're all working together, that you all have responsibilities, and that you're all going to be held accountable. And so you're really role modeling really positive tactics and management skills and independence, responsibility by even creating these systems. So there is a method to the madness. Sometimes parents are like, well, why do I need to do this? I will tell you there is a why, there is a purpose. And if you really just take it and you do it as I've laid it out, you will see really positive changes. One area to remember, though, is that parenting is like this huge giant puzzle, and you need all the pieces of the puzzle to really get the results you want. And so sometimes we're implementing golden time, we're seeing positive changes, we're excited about it, but then later in the day, we're yelling or we're giving reminders and we're feeling frustrated again. And so each time that we use a punishment tactic, like empty threats or bribery or timeouts or yelling, what happens is we deplete that power or attention bucket. And so we start to work against ourselves. So if parents find that they're doing golden time consistently, but then they're also still stuck in those kind of old habits that they want to change, we've got to remember that each piece of the puzzle has to be taken into consideration to really get where you want to go.
Okay, this is good. This is good. And I want to use an example, because you're saying to incorporate the golden time in with the bedtime routine. And a struggle for many parents seems to be bedtime. So we want to establish a good routine. We don't want to be, picking battles, and when our kids are already tired and we're probably tired, and it's just, it can end up being, a disaster really quickly. So what, incorporating your children in what the golden time is going to be, I feel like would be helpful. But do you have any sort of tips for making that bedtime a little bit more seamless?
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to remember that when we're struggling with anything, bedtime, mealtime, screen time, sibling rivalry, all of those challenges that you're feeling, those frustrations, what we think are problems are actually the symptoms. So that's not the problem. The problem is deeper and before that. And so that's why a lot of times parents will Google, oh my gosh, I need my kids to stay in bed. They keep getting out of bed for water. How do I get my kids to stay in bed? And then we look at, in the moment tactics to try and help our kids stay in bed. In reality, the problem was way before bedtime. The problem was that we didn't fill up those power and attention buckets. We didn't check off all the boxes on our child roadmap. We needed to be more proactive in our daily parenting to have success at bedtime. But then when we are doing all those things during the day, we still need tactics at bedtime to help set them up for success. And so some things that you can do that are simple, easy tactics, again, using visual aids and charts to build that independence and responsibility and fill those power buckets, are really building out your bedtime charts. A chart is not just something that you print off the internet and you pop up and you say, okay, guys, there you go. There's your bedtime chart. That's where we typically fail. Instead, we want to look at our own personal bedtime routines. What do your kids need to do every single night to be ready for bed? Your 7-year-olds might look different than your 5-year-olds or your 15-month-old. They're all going to be different. And so what you want to do is think about, what does each child need to do before bed, and then create that personalized chart for each child. I recommend doing it in the order that you want them to do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be in that order forever if they get it all done, but it helps them build that structure and hold them accountable. What you're then going to do once you create the chart with your kids, bringing them on board, having them help you decorate it or print off images from the internet or color it or add stickers to it, find a place where you can hang it. Sometimes kids like to put it on a clipboard. They like to be the CEO of their bedtime chart. You can use a little piece of yarn and a pencil, and that way it's always there for them. And they like to cross it off when they get each item done. And now they're really feeling focused and they're in charge of what's happening. Again, filling power buckets, filling attention buckets. And then once you have that chart created, practice teach, and train. So often we smack it up on the wall and we let it go. You have to teach, train, and practice. Like I say that over and over inside my program: teach, train, and practice everything that you want your kids to do, because your bedtime chart are your boundaries. Your bedtime chart are your concrete, clear, consistent boundaries and expectations, which teach your kids how to please you, which teaches them to stop pushing the limits. So there's a real reason behind it. And so teaching, training, and practicing might look like you pretending to be them and role modeling it and showing them how you want that to look, so that they're not taking off their clothes and lassoing it around at nighttime and throwing them, or running up down the hallways being crazy, but rather you can role model how you want it to look, pretend to be them, have them be mommy or daddy so they can watch how you do it, and then have them go through it. Maybe you read stories from my book corner. Inside my bio on Instagram, there's a book corner where you can get books on bedtime and routines, teaching, training, and practicing that. There's so much you can do, but hopefully that gives some of the listeners some things they can just take and run from here.
Wonderful. I think it's great because I can't tell you how many charts I've created that have sort of fallen by the wayside. We've even gone as far as to get them laminated. We've got Velcro smiley faces. But really it's creating the routine and continually, coming up using the chart and ensuring that everyone's familiar with what it means. It's not enough to just have it. We've actually got to follow through and to take action with it.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
remembering that your chart is not a rewards chart. We're not giving stickers when they do it. We're not giving them a reward. Rewards are actually a form of punishment. And so if you use rewards, they're going to be short-term little band-aids, and then that reward is not going to be having meaning to them. The novelty is going to wear off, and you're going to find that your kids don't want to do the chart. So it's not about rewards. It's about intrinsic internal drive, setting up your system so they really can please you. That's ultimately what they want and need.
Right. So it's the golden time spent with a parent, getting the tasks accomplished, but also, doing those things that are meaningful, like reading the books or singing the song or whatever that special time is.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. This is really helpful. So I think you've given us so many great things. One thing that I just want to ask about quickly, and this is sort of veering off track a little bit, but I'm going to come back. But do you have any special suggestions, or is there anything within your programming that helps parents who are dealing with specific behavior issues? So, I will admit I have one of my children has been diagnosed with ADHD. It was a diagnosis that we just received last year, but it was many years in the making and working with many different healthcare providers. And so sometimes I feel that the needs of that child is a little bit different from my other children. And sometimes the additional attention that this one child does require sometimes will lead to my other children perhaps wanting the same amount, or feeling like they're not getting enough attention. Are you able to speak to that a little bit, and does the golden time really assist with that, or are there additional elements that we should be incorporating if we have specific either behavioral or autism, things like that we have to be really cognizant about?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and something that's really, really common. And there's a number of parents inside my coaching program whose kids are on the autistic spectrum, ODD, ADHD, high anxiety. What we want to remember is that all kids need all of these things that I teach and coach on. And so what we want to remember is that every child is different. And yes, we can tailor and tweak and adjust to make sure we meet those needs. But in order to do that, the first and most important thing is that we, the parent, have learned the skills to ensure we can check off all our boxes. And so a lot of times I'll use the analogy of, let's say there's a child who has ADHD and you're at the dinner table and you struggle with meal times because your child doesn't want to sit at the table and they don't want to eat and they're getting up and they're throwing their food, or they want you to make something else. And you're in a constant power struggle with them. Sit down. It's time to sit down. You're not going to get dessert if you don't take 2 more bites, and you're not going to have it. Your brother and sister are going to have it. You're not going to have it. I've already given you a warning. This is your last chance. And we're getting into this hula hooping with our kids around the mealtime. Now, how do we know that the child with the ADHD is having a hard time sitting at the table because of their ADHD, or because our parenting is actually teaching them to keep pushing the limits, because our power struggling is actually telling them not to sit at the table, because we're giving them more power by not sitting at the table. And so what we need to do as parents is first go through all of the motions, learn all of the skills, get all of your systems in place, because then it becomes very clear to you, wow, this got so much better and that got so much better. But this one area, I can see that my child really struggles to stay focused or has a hard time completing all of those tasks. How can we now help them be successful? So I always say less is more. So if you're doing a bedtime routine and your child, you feel, will be overwhelmed by a list of 7 things, you're going to start with 2 or 3 things, and then they're going to get really proficient at that. And you're going to add one more on, and you're going to add one more on. And there's lots of strategies that I can help parents with. But we need to first do our part as parents to make sure we can actually support our kids for whatever challenge or area they need the supporting in.
That's great. That's great. And I appreciate that, because I think there is that level of feeling at fault when you feel as though you aren't able to provide, or where you feel that things just aren't working no matter what you're trying. So really, honing in on, receiving the tools and the resources that are required, and just knowing that there are others who are going through the same thing, and that they have been successful in implementing strategies that really help see their children thrive. I think that's really helpful to know that there are things out there, and it doesn't have to resort to the bribing or the yelling, or those constant power struggles that you were talking about. So that's really helpful. For our listeners, our busy working parents who are just trying to manage everything without getting down to the burnout, or just feeling completely exhausted, where can we begin? What advice do you have for someone who is really at that level of overwhelm, who wants very simple strategies? Like, where do we start? Where is the first point of making a positive change? What would you recommend?
Yeah, 100% downloading that free guide. Everybody likes something for free. I'd say take it, use it, do it, see for yourselves. I think that's a really important place to go first. I always say to parents, you've got to follow your gut and go where somebody feels good, where they align with you, where you really feel drawn to listening to them and you feel like you want to be coached by them. We all need a proven strategy. We need accountability, and we need support. That's where we have the most success with anything in our life, whether it be health and wellness or work or parenting. We need those 3 things. And so inside my coaching program, for parents who are really like, I want to dial it in, I want to set the stage now, I don't want to have teenagers later that I have to try and solve all these things when they've gone so far down the rabbit hole. Reach out, book a free call with me, fill out an application, book a free call. Let's decide whether or not you feel like it's a good fit to join my coaching program. There's multiple levels of my coaching program. There's something for everybody. But the idea is that you get to decide if it's the right fit for you. And my clarity calls are just a good opportunity for us to connect, and I can help you see what that looks like for you. I also run lots of mini events. So I have a workshop coming up. It's a virtual workshop. It's an hour and a half. It's jam-packed with information, and we will be covering get your kids to listen the first time you ask, which I know all parents want. And so you will walk away with tons of information from that. And I also have a free open house coming up in June, where you can join my actual coaching call in my program, listen in, be a fly on the wall, see what it's all about, see the kind of support you get, see what other parents ask and the support that they get, so that you can then kind of piece all of these things together and see if that feels like a good fit for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And something that you mentioned kind of sort of just made me open my eyes a little wider, was that, with our careers, with certain goals, aspirations, we feel that, having support, having, joining coaching programs, and I talk about this a lot, can be a really wonderful experience in helping us to achieve that next level, or become that version of ourselves, or be more successful in our vocation. But oftentimes we feel that we have to know everything when it comes to the parenting side, and that's simply not true. And I know this conversation has really shown that. So it's wonderful to know that there are people there is a community out there that we can be part of, that we can learn from, that we can grow with. And, these questions that we have, or these struggles that we have, are common, but they don't have to be constant.
Oh,
We can get
no.
rid of them. So
Yeah,
I will include that information for your open house on June 21st, the virtual workshop that you'll be running in July. I'm going to put all of the links in there because I love following you on social media. You have, I don't know, oodles of followers, TikTok and Instagram, and you provide really great tidbits, sometimes just helpful reminders or great insights. So I'm going to include all of that there.
great.
But what is the one place that you recommend we go to visit if we're looking for more information?
Instagram for sure. It's like a full, I don't even know. You could spend hours watching videos and learning and listening and really get a feel for it. So I would say follow me at Tia Parenting Coach, and join me every week for free live coaching. For Thursdays, Ask Me Anythings, where I answer parenting questions on the fly. There's something there for everybody, whether you want to come live or you want to watch all those recordings. So definitely dive in there and you'll find out all about me.
Oh, I really appreciate your time, everything that you've shared. Can't wait to go do some downloading myself. But thank you so much for your time, Tia. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I'd be happy to come back anytime. Lots of topics we can talk about.
I think so. I think we're going to have to make this a regular thing. Thank you for taking your valuable, precious time to spend with me today in listening to this episode of the Juggle is Real podcast. I appreciate it so, so much. And if you felt that you received value, if you got some great pieces of information and you felt this episode was worth your incredibly valuable time, can you just take one quick minute to rate this episode, to give this podcast a review, and share with a friend who you feel could benefit from hearing this interview today? The more that we receive these positive reviews, the better able we are to reach other people in helping those who are struggling or looking to be better supported in feeling more balance in their lives. You can always find me on Instagram. My handle is Andryanna G. That's ANDRYANNA. And if you want to connect with our community, you can join our mailing list. I love to send little love notes with tidbits and insights that I come across. So there is a link in this podcast episode description where you can join the mailing list and get your free 30 Days for Me guide. It is a free resource to help you reconnect with yourself, to reset and really re-energize yourself in mapping out small achievable goals that then turn into habits that create this beautiful self-image that you can guide yourself in feeling great every day. Until the next episode, I hope you take great care. Bye for now.